Simulacra and Simulation. The book originally published in 1981 by French philosopher Jean Baudrillard, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But for any of you who are fans of The Matrix or The Matrix trilogy, this was essentially required reading by actors and staff prior to filming this movie. And if you've not read this, you really, really should. Um, I don't know, recent global national events made me want to highlight this. I believe it was 1984 when the first English translation was rendered, and then the most famous English translation by Sheila Faria Glazer in 1994. But essentially, Simulacra and Simulation extensively discusses concepts that function as diversions, deterrents, and illusions used to hide the absence of reality in modern society. He argues that simulation is not just a fake copy, but a mechanism that replaces reality with a hyper-real version, creating a distraction that makes the collapse of actual meaning. In Simulations, Baudrillard categorizes the breakdown of the image into simulation via four successive phases. The image first reflects a basic reality, then masks or perverts that basic reality, then masks the absence of a basic reality, and finally, the image bears no relation to any reality whatever. It is its own. So, in essence, he views these diversions as part of a strategy of deterrence where the simulation of real drama, scandals, or fake places masks the emptiness of modern life. Very, very interesting, my friends. So, I was just going to scroll down here. I won't dig deep into this, but table of contents, history, retro scenario, Holocaust, China syndrome, apocalypse now, the Boberg effect, implosion and deterrence, hypermarket and hypercommunity, the implosion of meaning in the media, absolute advertising, ground zero advertising, clone story, holograms. This guy was just so ahead of his time. Crash, simulacra and science fiction, the animals, territory and metamorphoses, the remainder, the spiraling cadaver, values last tango, on nihilism. Let's go down here to, let me see, page 19, I believe I wanted to take a quick peek at. Do I have your attention yet? Oops, and we just have popped right out of where I wanted to be. Let me blow this up again here. And let's see if I pop in 1.9. Go there. Perfect. Disneyland is the perfect model of all the entangled orders of simulacra. Let me shrink this over here a bit. It is first of all a play of illusions and phantasms. The pirates, the frontier, the future world, etc. This imaginary world is supposed to ensure the success of the operation, but what attracts the crowds the most is without a doubt the social microcosm, the religious miniaturized pleasure of real America, of its constraints and joys. One parks outside and stands in line inside. One is altogether abandoned at the exit. The only phantasmagoria in this imaginary world lies in the tenderness and warmth of the crowd, and in the sufficient and excessive number of gadgets necessary to create the multitudinous effect. The contrast with the absolute solitude of the parking lot. A veritable concentration camp is total, or rather, inside a whole panoply of gadgets magnetizes the crowd in directed flows. Outside, solitude is directed at a single gadget, the automobile. By an extraordinary coincidence, but this derives without a doubt from the enchantment inherent to this universe, this frozen, childlike world is found to have been conceived and realized by a man who is himself now cryogenized Walt Disney, who awaits his resurrection through an increase of 180 degrees centigrade. So we will go no further today, my friends. But I always find it curious how in the midst of, again, epic global events such as war, that there always seems to be some type of distraction, deterrent, and or simulated event to detour our eyes and our ears and our focus elsewhere. That is the nature of the beast. And I've said this time and time again, but a gentleman I knew and played tennis with some 17 years ago, who was retired CIA and NSA, used to have some interesting conversations, but the one thing that stood out to me that was one of the most profound of all was when he looked at me and said, Caleb, technology is at least 30 years ahead of what the public has knowledge of. And so fast forward to 2026, and here we are in the age of rapid acceleration of artificial intelligence technology, and just who would have guessed just a few years ago what we could do and what could be done. But it's very easy with the use of holograms now to simulate a alien invasion in the sky, if you will, among many other things. So I encourage you, get the audiobook or go back and read Simulacra and Simulation. You might learn a few things.